Are you a founder, a CMO, or a marketing leader that has been told the marketing funnel is simple? Top, middle, bottom, awareness, consideration, decision. Nice and linear, nice and logical. Well, I'm here to tell you that's changing and fast. That's not how most people buy anymore, and if you keep creating video content based on this outdated model, you'll keep getting the same disappointing results, great looking videos that don't actually convert. So today I'm going to give you a completely different approach, and it's called video omnipresence. If we've not met before, I'm Kevin, and I help brands use video to get real business results, not just likes and views, but sales. After 30 years producing and directing everything from Formula One BAFTA winning sports coverage to global campaigns for brands like Red Bull, LG and McDonald's, I've learned that success isn't about volume, it's about strategy. Now, let me show you what actually happens when someone encounters your brand today or your service today. Perhaps your CEO appears on a podcast talking about company culture. A potential client catches 5 minutes and thinks, oh, that was quite interesting, and then moves on. 2 weeks later, they see a LinkedIn post from your head of product. Now, it resonates because it connects to what they heard on the podcast a couple of weeks back. And then later on, they visit your website, scan it for 2 seconds and then bounce, but then see a retargeted customer story later on. And then a colleague perhaps shares a case study that they've seen on an internal email. Now, suddenly they're binge watching your content at 11 p.m. on YouTube, and then they convert, but not in a way that your traditional sales funnel predicted, right? This is totally chaotic, and it isn't the exception anymore. It's the new norm. People bounce everywhere. And here's why that changes everything about your video strategy. Now, I've put together a video framework that keeps you on the right side of this new buying behavior. It's totally free. In the description below, there's a link there, and it will help you understand more about what we're covering today in much more detail. Let me show you exactly how this works with an example that will change everything you thought you knew about video strategy. There's this pretend large HR tech client. Let's use them as an example, and they're struggling with their traditional content. Now, they're creating all the right things, product demos, company stories and customer testimonials, all brilliant, but nothing's really cutting through. They're not getting all the leads that they assumed they would. Now, the original approach was maybe a standard founder video. They created this lovely messaging around why we're an innovative HR platform that streamlines performance reviews. Does that sound familiar? Because it's pretty much how everybody talks when they do scripting. I mean, they're just trying to sound clever and professional, but instead I would build everything around one core message that they picked up on there, which was performance reviews are killing team morale, and then turn that insight into an entire content ecosystem. Here's exactly what I would create. First of all, an anchor piece, something like a 5-minute founder-led YouTube video. And it would open something like this. Last year, 68% of your top performers probably thought about quitting during their annual review. Not because of the feedback, but because of how it was delivered. Here's what they're not telling you. Take that same message and then adapt it for a LinkedIn video. So the headline would be something like this. Your best people are updating their LinkedIn profiles right after performance reviews. Not because of bad feedback, but because of this hidden problem that no one's talking about. And then for an Instagram reel, I would show more of a human side, and the headline could be, watch what happens in these 2 performance reviews, same feedback, completely different outcomes. So you can see the pacing and the scripting and the delivery is completely different for different platforms. But it's the same message, the same core message, but delivered in a different way. Now, I've created for you a 30-second assessment. It's just a little quiz really that will show you where you are in your current video content strategy journey. The link's below, and it will make what comes next much more relevant for you. This type of coordinated approach has quite a few different effects on the messaging. Now, first of all, it made the brand feel bigger because their content was everywhere. Everywhere their audience looked, it popped up, and it increased the founders' visibility across different social media platforms. And they became known for a point of view, not just a product, for their point of view. So what does this do in turn then? Well, it builds product credibility because they've owned a conversation they created, and we just got smarter about distributing it. And that conversation then went across different channels, same message, different conversations. Because everywhere their audience looked, they saw a consistent, interesting and thought-provoking message. Not just product features and sales pitches, but a perspective that made them think differently about their problems and like, I think I might look into this a bit more because we surely must have these same problems in our company. Now, I've also created a free ebook, by the way. It's called Branding in Motion. It goes over all this sort of thing. And if you want that for free, that's in the link below as well. I know, giving away stuff left, right and centre, and it's not even Christmas. Now, let me show you how this actually works in practice. Now, take this same story about how performance reviews, why people hated those performance reviews and why they started to think about leaving. Not because of the feedback they got, but because it was done so badly. Because often you're not just selling to one person in that company, you're selling to an entire buying committee, if you like. And each person in that committee needs to see the different content in different places to all align. Now, the chief marketing officer, for example, might encounter your video first through a piece of thought leadership content they put on there. And that was titled perhaps The Hidden Cost of Annual Reviews, why 68% of high performers leave within 6 months. Now they're thinking about brand impact and company culture. They want the big picture insights. Same message that we're about to deliver now to the HR director, because they see it on a different platform, maybe on YouTube, and they've seen it through a case study. And that's titled How Service Tech Transformed Their Review Process in 90 Days. And we just go through a little story about them using that actual piece of software. And they give examples of real numbers and real outcomes. They're thinking, if I get this into our company, I'll look great in front of my boss. And then there's the CEO, and they catch it in short form content in a taxi somewhere, flicking on their phone on TikTok or Instagram. But this time it's titled, Why Exit Interviews Are Too Late. Now they're suddenly interested because of that bottom line impact to their company. They want quick insights, and this is how this affects their business. Now this is all still based around the same strategic story, which is why are people leaving our company after reviews all the time? But it's different messages for different people in different places. So one video certainly isn't the answer, is it? Because when these three people meet up together to discuss the solutions to the problem of their people leaving after their reviews, they've all encountered your brand, your software solution, but in a different way. But they've experienced it in a way that matters to them. The CEO looks at it in a different way to the HR director, to the marketing director. And that's how you build like a inward-looking consensus. And that's how you accelerate the deals, because everyone's aligned. They've seen it in different places and in different ways, but they've all come to the same conclusion. This is a good bit of software. Now, let me show you exactly how you could build this into your business by using that same HR tech client as the blueprint. So let's go back over it. First of all, we found their core message. And we certainly don't announce it to the world that we've got great HR software product. But instead, we want to give them a real insight that their market wants to hear, which is performance reviews are killing team morale. Very different, nothing forced about the second one. And people will resonate with that second one. Performance reviews are killing team morale. People know this happens. People don't like performance reviews particularly. This became our content foundation, if you like. But here's where the omnipresence element of it can start to work, because we can turn that one piece of content into an entire ecosystem. Now, it's important that you remember that it's the same core message, but with different ways of approaching it. So for LinkedIn, you could create a 60-second clip that was created by focusing on the shocking statistic that we found that 68% of high performers look for jobs in LinkedIn within 24 hours of their annual review. Here's why. Or for Instagram, we do a series of short 30-second reels showing the contrast between traditional review process and the modern review process and how it changes things. For an email campaign, you could have a headline that says, "Why your best developer quit after a good review," because they're confused, right? And then do a detailed case study in the text of the email. Now, each piece of this content is carried by the same core message about a broken review process in your company, but it's packaged specifically for that channel and for that audience. Now, it needs to be clear that this isn't about creating more content and just smashing it all over social media. It's about creating more strategic and focused content, smarter content that works together across different platforms. Every piece reinforces the other, and every touch point builds a familiarity with the viewer. And of course, every format serves a purpose on the buyer's journey through this crazy sales funnel that is all over the place. What you need to stop asking yourself as well is, what video should we be making next? And start asking yourself, what message do we need to get out there this month? And of course, if it suits your company, because some still work on traditional sales funnels, top, middle and bottom, maybe stop thinking about the traditional sense of the sales funnel and start thinking about how to create these omnipresent ecosystems and then create video sequences that work in a strategic way through them. Because research shows that the new way that you build trust in today's market is that you stay top of mind across this chaotic buyer journey. So this is why the omnipresence is starting to really matter more and more nowadays over the traditional sales funnel. It's all about the same story but different scripts. But it should never ever start with the script. You must start with the video strategy instead. I mean, what's the purpose of this video and what do you want from it? What action do you want from it? Now, what people tend to do is write the script first and think maybe of the strategy next. I'm going to show you in the next video why jumping straight into the script writing is costing you money and results and what you should do instead. Click through to that now and I'll see you on there.